Okay, let's start with question number 16. The problem is on overhead variances. Finally, they've asked for variable overhead efficiency variance, expenditure variance, fixed overhead efficiency variance, and capacity variance. Some part of the data has been asked. We'll try to do all the variances for fixed overheads. Anyway, in variable overheads, they've asked both the variance, efficiency and expenditure. The starting data point is available. Standard overhead absorption, standard rate, budget production, actual production. So let's try to get the computation table. Based on the computation table, we get closer to the answer. Working note 1, VOH variances. Working note 1, VOH variances. VOH variances. Working note 1, VOH variances. Okay, what is the computation table for VOH variances? SH into AH, AR into AH. There is a conversion factor, but in this question I cannot use the conversion factor because the question is specifically telling me to do on R's basis. The answer is not going to be different, but they want specifically on R's basis, so we'll have to do only the first part of it. No conversion factor in this question. So SR into SH, SR into AH. This I can otherwise write it as AVOH. That is fine. AR into AH is otherwise called as actual variable overhead. SR into SH, SR into AH, AR into AH is otherwise called as actual variable overhead. SR into SH, SR into AH, AR into AH is otherwise called as AVOH. Okay, let's start. Friends, no discussion. I don't want any disturbance in the class. I cannot repeat it multiple times. You are making me repeat the first time in the class in the first 5 minutes itself. So please maintain silence. What is the standard rate per hour? No, so that standard rate per hour of 4, whatever you see, is it for variable overheads or fixed overheads? There is a variable overhead, there is a fixed overhead. Both are there in the question, no? So is it variable overhead, is it fixed overhead, is it both together? It is both together because they have started with standard overhead absorption rate per unit, standard rate per hour. If they had said standard variable overhead absorption rate per unit or standard overhead absorption rate per unit in bracket VOH, then I can take it for variable overheads. This seems to be for variable overheads as well as fixed overheads. It seems to be for both together. We'll park SR for the time being. We'll see in later what is to be done. AH is how much? How much? 74. So let's write that. 74,000. AH is 74,000. AVOH, actual overheads were 2,95,000, of which 62,500 is fixed, balance is variable. So what is the balance part? 2. So AVOH is 232,500. AH is 74,000. AVOH is 232,500. Any doubts on this? Okay, now I need SR and SH. These are the two numbers which is missing. Any idea how do we go about calculating the SR per hour for only variable overheads? So how will you do for units?
40,000 minus 10,000 by, sorry, 2 lakh 20 minus 2 lakh 10 by 40,000 minus 10,000
ठीक है. Okay, so leave some 3 lines and come down. Variable cost per unit is equal to variable cost per unit is equal to variable cost per unit is equal to change in total cost by change in units. 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 We can take any of the two levels here. Change in total cost is how much? Let's take this 8 and 10. Change in total cost is, that is units, 30,000. Change in total cost is 30,000. Change in units, change in total cost by change in units, 15 per unit. Change in total cost by change in units, 30,000 divided by 2,000, 15 per unit. Every unit it is 15 rupees. That's the variable component. Any doubts till now? Any doubts on this? How do we proceed beyond this? Okay, so let it be then. Budgeted? So what will you do with that? No, so what are we going to get out of it? Why will budgeted production come into picture? Why should budgeted production come into picture? Which total overheads? Total overheads is 295. Which one? Okay.
So into 12,000 is budgeted.
So what is the use of that? Where are you going to use it? You can do all of that, but where are we going to use it? You tell me the place where you want me to use that.
So variable cost will be 15, fixed cost is 5. So get the support rate upon the rate.
हाँ ठीक है. So now listen. The rate per unit is 20 given in the question. First line, rate per unit is 20. Overhead absorption rate per unit. Listen. Variable fixed 15 5. Any doubts in this? Variable is 15, fixed is 5. Rate per hour is 4. Variable fixed 3 1. Any doubts in this? 20 split as 15 and 5. So 4 would have been split as 3 and 1. Any doubts in this? 20 rupees was the rate per unit, which was split as 15 rupees for variable overheads. Balance 5 rupees is for fixed overheads. Same logic continuing. Rate per hour is 4 rupees. That 4 has to be split in the ratio of 15:5, which is technically 3:1. Now what is this 3? This is standard rate per hour for variable overheads. What is this one? Standard rate per hour for fixed overheads. 15 standard rate per unit. 5 standard rate per unit. I don't want to use rate per unit. The question has specifically told me to use rate per hour. So I am forced to use that. 20 rupees was the rate per unit given in the question. We have computed 15. Any doubts on that 15? Change in total cost by change in units. So if 15 rupees is variable cost, 5 rupees has to be fixed cost. If 4 rupees is the total cost, it has to be 3 and 1. Any doubts on this? Write the split and go to the main computation table and write SR as 3. Main computation table, SR is 3. Any doubts on this? Anybody has any doubts on this? So SR is done, SR into AH is done, AR into AH is done. So we have completed all of that. SH is missing. SH is computed with the help of actual output. What is the actual output? 15,560. Okay, that is great. What is the standard equation? Yep. You will have to look at the two flexible budgets, 8 and 10,000 or 10 and 14,000. So we looked at 8 and 10,000. The change in total cost is 2,10,000 minus 1,80,000. 2,10,000 minus 1,80,000. Change in units is 10,000 minus 8,000. Anything you take, you will get the same 15 rupees. Clear? Any doubts on this? Okay, now coming to the SH. SH is computed with the help of actual output. What is the actual output? 15,560. Now the bigger question is, if that is 15,560 is great, what is the standard equation? How many hours equal to how many units? If I don't have that, how do I compute? I have got 15,560, that's great. How many hours is equal to how many units?
Sir, SR per unit into actual output is equal to same as SR into
Okay, that's a longer way of getting the answer. Tell me the shorter way of getting the answer. You are right. Whatever you have said is right, but that's a longer way of getting the answer. Tell me the standard equation. What is the standard equation? How many hours is equal to how many units? It's readily available. It's just a small calculation. How many hours equal to how many units? No. Why are you bringing actual into picture itself? How many hours equal to how many units?
3 per hour.
70? That is actual. I'm not interested in actual data.
Sir, 1 hour is equal to 5. 1 hour is equal to 5 units.
No, you went wrong. 1 unit is equal to 5 hours is the answer. It's very simple. Rate per unit is 20 rupees. This 20 rupees consists of 5 hours of 4 rupees. This 20 rupees is nothing but 5 hours of 4 rupees. What used to happen is rate per hour into number of hours per unit is the rate per unit. Rate per hour into number of hours per unit is basically rate per unit. Each hour takes 4 rupees, but each unit is taking 20 rupees. Why? Because each unit takes 5 hours of 4 rupees. Each unit takes 5 hours of 4 rupees. Any doubts on this? Each hour 4 rupees, each unit 20 rupees. It's like this. 1 unit is equal to 20. 1 hour is equal to rupees 4. 5 hours is equal to rupees 20. Both are equated. 1 unit is equal to 5 hours. 1 unit is equal to 5 hours. Every unit takes 20 rupees, but every hour is taking only 4 rupees. Then how did this 20 come? Because 5 hours will be equal to 20 rupees, and then finally 1 unit is equal to 5 hours. Any doubts on this? Any doubts on this? Kind of adjustment like this we have done in labor variances. It's just that, sorry, we are done in labor chapter. After a long time you are seeing it again. Any doubts on this? Any doubts on this? 1 unit is equal to 20. The rule is rate per hour into number of hours per unit is rate per unit. So you will see a problem where 1 hour is equal to 1 unit. Rate per hour and rate per unit will be same. Otherwise rate per hour into number of hours per unit is equal to rate per unit. Any doubts on this? Clear? So the standard equation is 1 unit is equal to 5 hours. 15,560 units is equal to question mark. 1 unit is equal to 5 hours. Any doubts on 1 unit equal to 5 hours? Anybody has any doubts on 1 unit equal to 5 hours? Clear? Any doubts on that part? The two critical adjustment was one, getting that 15 and splitting it to 15, 5 and 3, 1, and the second is this. 1 unit is equal to 5 hours. What is 15, 5, 60? 77. Do the multiplication and get the variances. Any doubts on variable overheads part? Any doubts on variable overhead? If variable overheads is fine, fixed overheads will be relatively simple. Any doubts on variable overhead? Can we move to fixed overheads? Anybody has any doubts on the variable overheads part? Can we? Done? Next, FOH variances then. FOH variances. Okay, we'll put the chart on the side and then write it so that it's easier for us to remember. Now, few questions. Is the question giving you information on actual days and budgeted days? Please participate. Actual days, budgeted days. No. Calendar variance asked? No. So let's put a chart without calendar variance. SR, we had SH, AH, BH and AFOH. The outer part is AFOH. This part is called as expenditure. Together is called as volume, efficiency, capacity. We have done the chart multiple times in the last class. Efficiency, capacity. SR into SH, SR into AH, SR into BH, AFOH. Everything has to be on the R side. They don't want anything on the units front, so I'm not writing the conversion factor AO into SR. All of that is ignored in the question. SR into SH, SR into AH, SR into BH, and AFOH. What is the SR per R? 1. SH in variable overheads. See there and tell me. The same thing will continue. 70? AH? BHS for 12,000 units. For the budgeted output, how many hours is required? What is the budgeted output? 12,000. For 12,000 units, we will need 60,000 hours. Each unit takes 5 hours. That one is, we had earlier calculated, I am not calculating it again. SH copy paste, AH copy paste. Whenever we are doing a comprehensive problem, SH and AH for variable overheads, fixed overheads, labor is going to remain same. So I have copied that. BH we have written, AFOH is already given. What is that? Get the variances, that's all. Get all the variances. They have asked only for few variances. You end up doing everything. You end up calculating all variances. Let me know if there are any doubts here. For all problems, the formula is going to come from the chart. Be very clear on the chart. Things will be easy for you to do. If you're not clear on the chart, obviously you will have difficulties. You need not remember even a single formula. Everything will flow from the chart. Can you proceed to the next question? Any doubts on this? Anybody has any doubts on this? Clear? Okay, I'll come back to this question which we had not done, question number 9. So we'll go back to this question now. Go through the question. Go through question 9. Okay, please go through the question. Okay, let's start with this question. They've asked for material variance and labor variance. Material variance with scenarios: single material, multiple material. Multiple material. Labor, single labor, multiple labor. With idle time, without idle time. Okay, I'll now explain first on the labor side and then I come to the materials part. Now when I read the labor, the question says normal loss was 10% and an idle labor time of expected labor hours was also estimated. Then when you read the question below, have they given actual idle time anything? Anywhere, any data on actual idle time? Nothing is given. Now listen, like we have a normal wastage of material, we can also have a normal idle time. So basically this 1800 hours, whatever they have mentioned, 1800, in that 1800, 5% of the time the people are not going to work. And it is a set expectation that people will not work. So if a class is going on for 3 hours, there's an expectation that 5 minutes will get wasted in between because of XYZ reason. So similarly what they are saying is, in this 1800 hours, 5% of the time will obviously get wasted. Now my actual wastage can be 10% time, then that extra 5% is only idle time. Not the entire 10% is idle time, because when I'm doing my production, there will be a relaxation allowance of 5 seconds. There can be a lunch break for 20 minutes. There can be a coffee break for 10 minutes. So a lot of things can happen in a manufacturing process. Now the question has said 5% of the expected labor hours was also estimated. Estimated means they said that 5% of the time will get wasted. If I waste more than 5% of the time, then that is only idle. So for example, in this 1208.60, they can give me idle time saying that so much is the idle time. In that so much of the idle time also, what I will do is 5% will get added to the actual hours worked, because they have technically worked for that time, because that is an expected idle time. Anything beyond the 5% is only idle time for us. The first 5% is not technically an idle time. So this is a problem of multiple labor without idle time, because I don't know what is the actual idle time. Unless they give me data on actual idle time, I cannot go ahead and say that they've wasted time or they have not wasted time. They could have added a sentence saying that 10% of the time paid was idle. Then what I would have done is, in that 10%, 5% will continue to be part of AHW and only 5% is idle time. So that will be the difference between AHP and AHW. So this will be actual hours paid. If they give me the idle time, I'll calculate what is abnormal idle time. That abnormal idle time I'll subtract. If they had added a sentence saying that 5% of the hours paid is idle time, still not bother about it, because that 5% is not idle time. Anything above 5% is only idle time. Clear? Any doubts on this? Start with material variances. I'll come in 2 minutes. Multiple material, do multiple material scenario. Start with material variances. Start with material variances. I'll come in. You'll complete itself. Do material part. Friends, I cannot be repeating multiple times not to talk. If it's something new, I can explain. These are things we have already done, so I don't have anything to explain. At least till this, everyone should have got it. I don't see a challenge writing till this stage. Even if you have not got this, then it's your wish. You didn't want to write the solution and you wanted me to give the solution and copy it. That I cannot help it. Otherwise, till this, everyone should have got it. Some of you would have even got RSQ and SQ. But at least till this, I don't see any challenge. There's nothing to be computed. Yep. I'll come to it. I'll come when I go to the labor part, I'll explain again. On the material part, I don't see a challenge. On labor part, I'll again explain to you. Your RSQ is total of AQ in what? Standard mix. What is the standard mix? 800 is to 600 or 4 is to 3. Can you split 15, 15, 4 is to 3? 886 and 900 plus 650, 1550. So note one, calculation of RSQ. If you have not done it, calculation of RSQ, underline that. Calculation of RSQ, underline that. Total of AQ equal to 1550. Total of AQ equal to 1550. You will divide that into 2, split it into 2, 4 is to 3. Split 1550 in the ratio of 4 is to 3. 886 and 664. Split in the ratio of 4 is to 3. Then we also have note 2, which is calculation of SQ. Calculation of SQ. What's the formula for SQ? I want participation. It's not something new which I've been teaching. SQ is equal to what? AO into input by output. If something new is there, I'll give my explanation, but all these are already done. What is the AO? 1,4. Input output? 100 by 90. 1480 is the units produced by the company. The company has produced 1480 kg of finished product. So 1480 into 100 by 90. What is the number? 16. Split that in the ratio of 4:3. Split in the ratio of 4:3. I am now going to explain in detail material variances. Labor I will explain. Labor I will take you through a little bit in detail. This adjustment we had already done in question 2 or 3. Into 100 by 90 or into 100 by 85 is something which we have already done. So nothing new for us. 1480 into 100 by 90, 1644, split in the ratio of 4:3. What is that? 940? Okay, 940 and 704. Can someone tell me the total if they have done it? 940 and 704. 63? How much? 59? 790? Okay, 59, 790. 60,000. 63? 420. 420. Second one is 59, 790. 60,000. 59. Any doubts on this? Can you proceed? Anybody has any doubts on this? I'll then take you through the labor part. Any doubts on this? Clear? Okay, again I'll explain that idle time. Some of you still have a doubt. Now, when you read the question, it says normal loss was expected to be 10% and an idle labor time of 5% of expected labor hours was also estimated. Now, let's assume the question says 10% is the actual idle time. This is the question's information. 10% is the actual idle time. So 10% means 120 hours and 86 hours are real idle time for the company. In this 10%, I already expected 5% to happen. So then 5% is 60 and 43. 60 and 43. So the real idle time is 60 and balance 60 and 43. So this will be AHP. What is AHW is this minus this real idle time of 60 and 860 minus real idle time of 43. That will be your AHW. RSH is the total of AHW in standard mix, and you already know what is to be done for standard hours. So that is not something which I have to explain. So the point is, they have not told me what is the real idle time itself. Without knowing real idle time, I cannot tell whether these guys wasted time or not. So that part I cannot answer without knowing the real idle time. So in that scenario, the idle time to some extent will get captured in your efficiency variance. If the data is not available, your AHP and AHW is same. If the data is not available, that AHP, AHW, if both are same, it will get categorized in your idle time, sorry, in your efficiency variance. When you calculate your labor efficiency variance, it gets captured there. Otherwise, if they give me the actual idle time, I separate AHW and AHP. Why do I separate this? Is SH and AHW is compared to get efficiency, AHW and AHP is compared to get idle time, because the efficiency part, when I'm measuring of the workers, I want to eliminate this abnormal aspect called as idle time. Maybe it could be because of certain factors which are beyond their control. So to measure the working efficiency of a person, we wanted to take only the real efficiency. Now in this question, I don't know what is the actual idle time. Without knowing what is the actual idle time, I cannot say this is a problem of multiple labor with idle time. And also the question has not asked for idle time variance because it's not an idle time scenario. It's not an idle time scenario. The question is very clear. What they have mentioned is, we expect 5% of expected labor hours. When I solve the problem, institute has given an answer which according to me is incorrect, so I'm not following it. In the final answer, you will see that this sentence itself is ignored by us. Idle labor time of 5% will get ignored at every place. When you do the problem, you'll understand it, but will get ignored at every place. I kind of ignore this 5% line which is given, unless they tell me the actual idle time is 10%, 7, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, some number they give, then it would make sense. Otherwise, when you solve this, I'll tell you to ignore this line and solve. That's how the answer is going to be as such. When you solve it, you will kind of ignore this line and do it. Clear? Any doubts till now? So this is a problem of only multiple labor and no idle time. So this is a multiple labor without idle time. Any doubts till now? Why without idle time is, I don't know what is the real idle time. Without knowing the real idle time, I cannot ascertain whether they have wasted more time or less time. That ascertainment is not possible. Clear? Any doubts on this?
Suppose they are given the actual idle time was 4 or 3%, then again we'll ignore everything.
No, so the point is, then the company has kind of saved time than what was required. Now there are two ways of answering that. One way of answering saying that idle time variance is favorable. The idle time variance technically becomes favorable, which kind of become illogical because I cannot have an idle time favorable variance. The second logic is, if people have wasted less time, let's incorporate that part of efficiency variance itself and ignore the line on idle time. So it could be two school of thought. Different people will say it differently. So I cannot give a straight answer saying that this is what you have to follow. It can be either ways. Let's start. SR into SH, SR into RSH, SR into AH, AR into AH. I have kind of ignored the idle time data given in the question. It's a problem of multiple labor without idle time. The answer in institute material is slightly different. I am not convinced on that. That's why I am giving you this. SR into SH, SR into RSH, SR into AH, AR into AH. SH, RSH, AH and AR into AH. Skilled and unskilled. Keep filling the numbers. Most of them are readily available. I may have to take you through SH part alone. That alone will be a little tricky. That also, if you understand it properly, you will get it. Otherwise, I'll take you through that alone. SR and AR is readily available. You want to put a chart, that's your wish. You'll see finally we kind of ignore that 5% given in the question. What is the RSH number, if you guys can tell me? 11? That is 2060 split in the ratio of 5:4 or 10:8. Split in the ratio of 5:4. 1144 and 916. Okay. No, so I'll keep explaining you. You do, if you're right, you'll understand it. Otherwise, you'll make a mistake. That's fine. It's a little tricky. It's a little tricky, but do it. Don't wait for me. Yeah. So let it be actual 5% idle time. If actual is also 5%, planned is also 5%, then there is nothing abnormal idle. I need abnormal idle time, not the normal idle time. Any doubts till RSH? Anybody has any doubts till RSH? Okay, try calculating SH. Try calculating SH and let me know. I'll give you 2 minutes to do it and then we discuss. let me know the SH number. How are you going to calculate it? Please let me know that. Please participate. Let me know how are you going to calculate SH.
Total hours work 1,800, budgeted total hours work 1,800.
Okay.
Divided by quantity budgeted produced. Quantity budgeted which 1,400 into
No. You're going, your answer may be right, but the logic is slightly incorrect. You will get the answer in any scenario, but that will be a little difficult to understand the logic which you are trying to build in. Can you tell me what is the standard equation? I don't want to divide by 1,400. Your answer will match because there is a loss which is considered at both the places. Can you tell me what is the standard equation? How many hours is equal to how many units?
1,260 kg is equal to 1,800.
Yeah, it's 1,000. So now listen. The question said ABC Limited has prepared the following estimation for the month of April. I wanted to use 1,400 kg of raw material, 1,800 labor hours. 1,400 kg of raw material, 1,800 labor hours. Normal loss was expected to be 10% of the total input. 1,400 minus 10% is 1,260. 1,400 minus 10% is 1,260. So the standard equation is 1,260 kg of output is equal to 1,800 labor hours. 1,260 kg of output is equal to 1,800 hours of labor. Why 1,260? 1,400 minus 10%. 1,400 minus 10%. So 1,260 units is equal to 1,800 labor hours. 1,480 kgs is equal to question mark. We have actually produced 1,480. So the standard equation is 1,260 is equal to 1,800 hours. How 1,260 is? 1,400 kgs of raw material minus 10% of loss. This is the plan of the company. The plan is basically 7 units will take 10 hours. Technically it is like that. 7 units are going to take 10 hours. This is the plan developed by the company. 7 units is going to take 10 hours. So 1,260 kg is equal to 1,800 hours. AO equal to ST. 1,480 is equal to question mark. Get the answer to the question mark. Split in the ratio 5:4. Yeah.
Sir, why don't you take the 5% idle time?
Where will you take the 5% idle time?
I was thinking you could add it to 18,000 hours, make it 1890.
Add it to?
18,000 hours, make it 1890.
No. So what institute has done, instead of adding it, there's one way of doing a problem is you remove 5% from this. Why do you remove 5%? The idle time is already considered here. Listen for a minute. 1,260 is equal to 1,800. Any doubts on that? 1,260 is equal to 1,800. Any doubts in that? Okay, 1,260 is equal to 1,800. 1,480 is equal to question mark. You get your answer. Everything is done. Listen. Institute's logic, which is based on an assumption. If I make that assumption, that answer also becomes right. The institute assumption is this 1,800 includes idle time. This 1,800 includes idle time. So you cannot say 1,260 is equal to 1,800. They said 1,260 is equal to 1,800 minus 5%. 1,260 is equal to 1,800 minus 5%. That is the standard equation. Based on that standard equation, you get your time whatever is required. That was institute logic. 1,260 is equal to 1,800 minus 5%. That logic is fine if these hours which you see, no, they do not include idle time. Because consistent. This also doesn't include idle time. SH also doesn't include idle time. Consistency is fine. If this includes idle time, SH should also include idle time. Otherwise, I cannot make them comparable. So, institute answer according to me works with the logic that in this idle time is not there. Idle time would have been separately paid by the company. Some 100 hours, 20 hours, 50 hours, whatever be the number. That is kind of separately paid. So, they have removed. So, the institute answer logic is this 1,800 includes idle time. 1,800 includes idle time. You remove that. This 2060 does not include idle time, so you are not removing it. That's what, with the assumption they have given the answer. That assumption is not specifically written, but that was a kind of an assumption. Adding 5% is out of context. That cannot come in, because the point is either this include idle time or this doesn't include idle time. If this includes idle time, you may want to remove it. If this doesn't include idle time, you kind of leave it as it is. So if this doesn't include idle time, this doesn't include idle time, I'm great, very happy about it. Both the places idle time is not included, I kind of consistency is maintained, I can do a comparison. Both the places idle time is included, again consistency is maintained, I don't have a problem. Institute assumption is this doesn't include, sorry, this had an idle time, so you removed it. This didn't have an idle time, so you kind of don't remove it. That was with the assumption they had given the answer. My assumption, I'll write a note in the end saying that this also includes the normal idle time. This also includes the normal idle time, so we are kind of consistently maintaining it. Otherwise, the only probable answer for the standard equation is 1400 minus 10%, which is the output 1260, is equal to 1800 minus 5%. Why 5%? Because I am removing idle time from both the places. Clear? Any doubts on this? Any doubts on this part? The point is, the table you will have to read it properly. The table said the company wanted to produce the product. They did not tell what is the actual product. I don't want to know also. The plan is they wanted to use 1400 kg of raw material. If you are using 1400 kg of raw material, you are prepared to have an output of 90% of 1400 kg of raw material. Whether it happens, it doesn't happen, I'm not bothered about it. If happens, not happens is your material variances. So I'm not really bothered about it. 1400 kg of raw material is equal to 1260 kg of Fg equal to 1800 labor hours. 1260 kg of Fg equal to 1800 labor hours. What I can compare is only ST and AO. I cannot be comparing ST and raw material. So AO is, sorry, I can compare only first the standard equation, I compare time and hours. So the equation is 1260 kg of output is equal to 1800 labor hours. ST equal to AO, question mark equal to 1480, question mark equal to 1480. Any doubts on this? Any doubts on this?
Actual loss remain 2060.
हाँ मतलब
After you take, because the first case after 5%.
हाँ, so that's what the institute assumption was. This didn't include idle time, this included idle time, so in one place you remove it. If both includes idle time, I'm not bothered about it. If both exclude idle time, I'm not bothered about it. The worry comes if one includes and the second one doesn't include it. Any doubts on this? Any doubts on this? Let's proceed with this itself. Any doubts on 1260 is equal to 1800? If you are done with this, you will get the ST, split it, write in the main table and then get the answer. One thousand? No, it's correct only. The logic is a little difficult to understand. I'll not be in a position to explain. Many of them may not understand this logic. This is relatively easy to understand. I didn't say your answer is wrong. It's correct, but the logic may be a little difficult to make people understand. Then I'll have to take SQs based on your actual output. That is why we are taking SQ. So it becomes a little difficult to grasp it. You have basically added 10% at both the side of the equation. That's how your formula was. Technically you have made 1400 and you are telling not to take 1480, take some 16. Answer will be right because at both the places 10% got added. But then I'll have to take AO is equal to ST, then I'll say no AO, you'll have to consider SQ. Then it becomes a little difficult for people to grasp it. 1260 kg is equal to 1800 hours, AO equal to ST, 1480 equal to question mark. What is the number you got? How much? 21? That you will split and write here. What is the split? 1175. Okay. 9. Okay. Do the multiplication and get the variances. Do the multiplication and get the variances. Friends, I seriously don't understand what is there to talk. This was an adjustment which I've explained in detail. You have a doubt, you talk to me. I don't want any disturbance in the class. Friends, how many times you want me to repeat it? You don't want time to calculate, I proceed to the next question. If that is what is needed, I'll keep giving you the solution, you keep copying the solution. That will more or less take care of it, because that's what is needed. No, in the class you just want to copy the solution, you don't want any explanation. So if explanation is not needed, I'll give the solution, you copy it, and we are done with it. If you have completed, it means there is someone else still working on, so wait, otherwise I would have proceeded to the next question. Can you proceed? Okay, we'll proceed to the next question then. Let's do question number 17. Please go through the question. Please go through question 17. Go through question number 17. No, only the actuals. Okay, let's start with this question. They've given details of a company wherein the standard cost card is available. Production data has been given. We are required to calculate material variances, labor variances, factory overhead, some income statement and some bonus and purchase price variance. Part 4 and part 5 is kind of new to us, whereas 1, 2 we have already done in some places. Income statement I'll explain as we proceed. Now let's first start with material variances. Is it single raw material, multiple raw material? Single raw material. Working note 1, material variances. Working note 1, material variances. Material variances. What is the standard price? 4.2. Actual price 4.5. Actual quantity. What is the actual quantity? Everyone should participate. I don't know, we have already done all of this. 2,05,600. The only doubt can be, is it 205,600 or 225? We take only the consumed data, not the purchase data. So 205,600. SQ is equal to AO into input by output. AO into input by output. What is the actual output? 40960. 40960 is what has been produced by the company. 40960 is what is produced by the company. Input by output is 5:1. 5 kgs is needed for 1 unit. Whenever a standard cost card is given, that makes it easier for you to write SP and SQ. SP is 4.2, SQ is 5 kg per unit. It's only 5 kg per unit. Similarly, when you go to this, SR is 3 rupees and 3 hours is the time required for 1 unit. So the standard equation is 1 unit is equal to 3 hours. Listen for a minute. SR for factory overhead is 1.20 per hour or 3.60 per unit. Either it's 1.20 per hour or 3.60 per unit. Whenever a standard cost card is available, it makes it easier for you to write SP, SQ, SR, SH. All of this will be readily available here. You just need to do the multiplication with your AO. So SP is 4.2, SQ is 5 kg per unit. So 5:1 is the input output ratio. When it comes to labor, 3 hours is equal to 1 unit. When it comes to factory overhead, 1.20 per hour or 3.60 per unit. Any doubts on this? Anybody has any doubts on this? Tell me what is the SQ number?
4,800.
Quickly get the variances. material cost, material price, material usage. Get the three variances. Quickly tell me what is material cost variance, price and usage variance. Any doubts on the material price, material variances? Any doubts on the material variances? 65040 for cost, prices 61680, usages 3360. Any doubts in this? Can we proceed? Working note to labor variances. Anybody has any doubts on the material variances? Everyone done? Any doubts? Any doubts on material variances? Then we'll move to labor variances. Which category is it? Single labor, multiple, with, without? Single labor without idle time. SR into SH, SR into AH, AR into AH, SR into SH, SR into AH, AR into AH. What is the SR for labor? 3 hours at rupees 3. So every hour is going to be 3 rupees. Every hour is 3 rupees. SR is 3. Okay, listen for a minute. When it comes to AR, what you will have to do is 387,840 you will have to divide by 121,200 and then again multiply with 121,200. AR into AH is nothing but you will have to first divide and then do multiplication. In short, AR into AH is actual labor cost. AR into AH is actual variable overhead. AR into AH is actual fixed overhead. So I'm not going to do the division part and I'm not going to do the multiplication. I'm going to straight away write 387,840. You want to divide it, but then don't give me a rounding of issue answer, because when you multiply, you will multiply and write a different number. So if you want to divide, you divide it, make it 4-5 decimals so that when you multiply back you get the same 387 840. Otherwise what will happen is you will divide by 121 200 and again multiply with 121 200. In that process you will not write 387 840, you will write a slightly different number. That is because of rounding off issue. That's not acceptable in an exam scenario because it's very clearly mentioned that this is the actual labor cost. So avoid the rounding off issue and straight away write 387 840. In case you want to divide it, you can write the two parts, but the overall multiplication has to be 387 840. I don't want you to write a different number there. The overall multiplier has to be 387 840. It's up to you what you want to do. After multiplication I need 387 840. There are no changes to that, because the moment you divide and make it 2 decimal and multiply back, you will have a rounding off difference, which can be a big there's no difference. Okay, then that's great. Otherwise most of the question you will see a rounding off difference. Okay, in this question there's no, okay, 3.2, but most of the question there is a possibility of a rounding off difference, so take care of that. In this question when I divide I get exact 3.2, so it doesn't really matter, but there are a lot of questions where it will be 3.1435, some number like that. In that case you will have a rounding off issue coming in. AH is how much? 121 200, 121 200, 121 200, then come down, write standard equation, standard equation, standard equation, underline that. 1 unit is equal to 3 hours, 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 4960 is equal to question mark. 1 unit is equal to 3 hours, 4960 is equal to question mark, which will be 122 880. Any doubts on labor variances? Can we proceed? Anybody has any doubts on labor variances? Then I'll move to overhead variances. Any doubts? Any doubts? Okay, I have a question on overhead variance. Any doubts till now? Is it fixed overhead or variable overhead? They've just used the word factory overhead. Is it fixed or variable? Without knowing that, I cannot proceed forward. So I need to know whether it's a fixed overhead or a variable overhead. Whatever it is, the reason behind it. Please look at the question and tell me, is it fixed, variable, reason? Because depending on that, your answer will change, the calculation will change. The overall variance may not change, but the calculation is going to undergo a change. Either you split as expenditure efficiency or expenditure volume efficiency capacity. So, is it fixed or variable? Yeah, please participate. Whatever makes sense to you, you'll have to do the question. So, how will you proceed? Is it fixed overhead or variable overhead? They have used the word only factory overhead there. Or is it both put together? How do you want me to proceed? If it's both put together, how do I split as variable fixed?
You have given it's a 3.6 per unit, sir.
Okay.
Number of units produced, the number of units produced.
No, so don't get into all of that. First tell me whether it's fixed or variable. Why are you getting into calculation?
More budgeted overheads can be found.
So what am I going to do with that? No, so with that, can you tell me is it fixed or variable? You can do all that if you want to, but tell me whether it is fixed or variable.
So both, because 3.6 per unit, find out total, and less the actual, you will be getting the.
That is okay. So that is your variance. That's technically your variance. I agree to it. So is it variable, fixed? My question again remains the same. Is it variable, fixed, both? Okay. The problem is not clear. It's your assumption whether you want to take it as variable or you want to take it as fixed. So we will write a note. In class, I'll take it as fixed, and let's continue with fixed variances where we have multiple variances to compute. It's your wish. You can take it as fixed. You can also take it as variable. The problem is not clear. You cannot identify with the question whether it is variable or fixed. Both logic may not work because I will not be in a position to calculate variances. If I assume both, variances can't be computed. So either I take it as variable or I take it as fixed. Clear? Any doubts on this? So now write overhead variances, factory overhead variances, factory overhead variances, factory overhead variances, you can write it is assumed that factory overhead is fixed in nature. It is assumed that factory overhead is fixed in nature. You want to take an alternate assumption, that's also perfectly fine. It is assumed that factory overhead is fixed in nature. Let's put the chart on the side. With calendar, without calendar? Without calendar. SR, SH, AH, BH, AFOH. Outer part is expenditure, volume, efficiency, capacity. Expenditure, volume, efficiency and capacity. What do you want? You want to leave now?
No, yes.
Okay, now any problem on fixed overhead or variable overhead, we start with SR per hour and SR per unit. In this question, that's not required because both are directly available. This is your SR per hour 1.20. This is SR per unit 3.60. So both the numbers are readily available. And one more thing, when you are solving a problem which is labor and overheads put together, then I copy paste the SH and AH here. I already done the SH and AH when I do labor, so I kind of copy paste them. What is the SH in labor? 1,22,880. With this I'll multiply with 1.20. 1.20 into 122,880. 1.20 into 122,880. AH was how much? 121,200. How many units the company wanted to produce? Somewhere they would have given. Some budget they would have made. 40,000. So this SR into BH can also be called as SR into BO, budgeted output. So I'll do 3.6 into 40,000. 3.6 is per unit into 40,000, or 40,000 units will take 1,20,000 hours. One unit takes 3 hours. So 40,000 units will take 1,20,000 and you will multiply with 1.2. Both are same. Either ways you do it. 3.6 into 40,000. 3.6 into 40,000. What is the AFOH number? 1 lakh. AFOH is 1 lakh. The formula, everything comes from the chart. Again, I'll keep repeating the same stuff. You will have to take everything from the chart and note it here. Any doubts on this? Any doubts on the FOH variances, factory overhead variances? Anywhere is a otherwise I move to the income statement part. Any doubts on this? Can we proceed? Can you move to income statement? Okay, next working note. The income statement will be in slightly different format. Income statement for the month of June 2007. Particulars and 2 amount columns. Particulars and 2 amount columns. Particulars, amount. Okay. We will start with something called as budgeted profit. Budgeted profit. We'll start with something called as budgeted profit. The format is slightly different when you follow standard costing. Budgeted profit. The company wanted to produce how many units? Which indicates that they also wanted to sell 40,000. That's our assumption. Now, selling price to be fixed to allow a markup of 20% on the selling price. Consider that line and this cost and tell me what was the profit per unit they wanted. Consider this line and this cost. Whatever was the plan. What was the profit they wanted? The profit is 1/5 on sales, 1/4 on cost. 1/5 on sales, 1/4 on cost, which is how much? 8.4. So my budgeted profit in bracket 40,000 units into 8.4 per unit. This is what I wanted to achieve. $40,000 into 8.4. This was the plan at the beginning of the year, to get a profit of 40,000 into 8.4. We may get little better or little weaker depending on the variances. There are a lot of variances which are given. So depending on the variances, either I get a favorable, more actual profit being better than 336 or weaker than 336. Then add favorable variances. Add favorable variances. 40,000 into 8.4 is what we had budgeted for. This was the plan at the beginning of the month. We may get better or weaker. Add favorable variances. Now listen. When you do material variances, we have a MCV, which is the main variance, which gets split as price and usage. Sometimes usage will be split as mix and yield. Wherever there is a split of a variance, that main variance will not come in the reconciliation, because if I write 65040, then I should not write 61680 and 3360. If this 3360 is split as 1000 and 2360, then I should not write 3360, I should write only the sub variances. So in the reconciliation or in the income statement, I'll be writing only material price and material usage. I'm ignoring both are adverse. Adverse is separately written, favorable is separately written. So as of now, I'm not writing anything from material. Let's go to labor. In labor, I will not write LCV, labor cost variance has not come. Labor rate, labor efficiency. Labor rate is favorable. So add favorable variance. The first one is labor rate variance. Labor rate variance. Inner column 5040. Labor rate variance. No, so the point is I have to fix responsibility. You know, cost means who is responsible. Is it the rate side responsible or is it the efficiency side responsible? In efficiency, is it the mix side responsible or the yield side responsible? So we have written rate variance. Efficiency, I'll write it separately. When it comes to fixed overhead variances, I am not going to write FOH cost. Cost is split as expenditure and volume. We will not write volume. Volume is split as efficiency and capacity. So I'll write this. Instead of writing all these three, I could have written a one item called as FOH cost, but we want it to be as detailed as possible. That's why we write all the sub variances. So we will write FOH expenditure variance. FOH expenditure variance 44,000. FOH efficiency variance 2016. FOH capacity variance 1440, and put an amount in the outer column. Put one amount in the outer column. Labor rate, FOH expenditure, efficiency and capacity. We are not writing volume because efficiency and capacity is captured. I cannot write total cost variance because we are writing expenditure and volume. So that is the logic. If there is sub variance available, then write the sub variances. Less adverse variances. Favorable variances will improve profits, adverse variances will reduce profit. Less adverse variances, I go to material and write those two. Material price variance, material usage variance. Sorry, this was labor efficiency, not rate. Done, that's all. I'll come to it. I'll verify the profit also. Yeah. No, efficiency is favorable. This is a mistake. Here I've made a mistake then. This is efficiency. This is rate. Because your actual labor were lesser than standard labor and the rate was 3.2 as compared to 3. Okay. Now, any doubts till this? Now listen, this is a kind of a statement which every company will be getting. There also will be sales variances. In this question it's not there and it's not part of your syllabus. So why sales variance is not there, I'll explain in some time. Now with this statement, what the management can say is that we have gone lower than the profit which we anticipated, and there is some major problem on the purchase department. Material price variance of 61,680 adverse. My purchase department is becoming inefficient, or they have done some problem. I told them to buy raw material at 4.2, they bought it at 4.5, and that is having a huge impact on my profits. That is the major reason why I have run short of profits. Similarly, labor rate is also a problem for me, because I wanted these guys to pay at 3 rupees, they have paid 3.2. I will have to analyze these two reasons, understand what has gone wrong. If it's not that the market demands this much, then I have to increase the selling price. If I cannot reduce the labor cost or the material price, I have to go ahead and increase the selling price. Maybe the market is not at 33.60 cost, the cost itself in the market is some 34, 35 now. So you accordingly increase your selling price. So this is what the analysis can be done from an income statement. The income statement now tells me I will pay some bonus to the laborers, which is also asked the question, how much bonus you will pay. I can pay some bonus to them because they are efficient. On the fixed overhead expenditure side, we have kind of saved a lot of money. Whether it's a planning error or is it a real saving, maybe I'll have to analyze, because it can't be that 1,44,000 is the amount I wanted to incur and I have incurred only 1 lakh. Something has gone wrong on the estimation side, or something has gone wrong on the real performance, or something has gone really good on the performance side. We'll have to kind of analyze it and then decide what is, because next month I'll have to adjust the cost accordingly. Maybe the fixed overheads is not 1.20 per 3 hours, it could be 1 per 3 hour and it is only 3 rupees per unit. It could be that way. Material cost is not 4.2 per kg, it could be 4.5 per kg. Labor cost may not be 3, it may be 3.2, and accordingly you get a different cost, and with that different cost you work with a different selling price, provided everyone in the industry is doing it, so that you kind of understand with the income statement. Any doubts on this? Now a verification of the profit. Next, right, verification of the actual profit. Verification of actual profit. Verification of actual profit, particulars and amount. Verification of actual profit, particulars and amount. Direct material cost, particulars and amount. Direct material cost. Last column of material variances will give you the actual material cost. Direct material cost, last column. How much is that? AP into AQ? 925, 200. Last column of material variances. Direct labor cost. Last column of labor variances. 387. Last column of fixed overhead. This is your cost of production. Cost of production 14,13,040. This is the production cost for 40,960 units. 40,960 units, we have incurred 14,13,040 less closing stock. Somewhere the unit sold is given. What is the unit sold? So the closing is 960 units. 960 units. Listen, in a normal cost sheet, what you will do is you will divide by 4960. Can you divide and tell me what it is? 14,13,040 divided by 4960. How much? 34 point. So the real cost which we have incurred is 34.91. Standard costing says nothing doing. We will multiply only with 33.60. That was the cost which we had decided. Stock will be valued at the standard cost. So I'll multiply with 33.60. Whether you incur more or incur less, that could be your efficiency issue. And then next month you change the standards. We change the standards, you again value as per the standards which you set it. So whatever the standards you are setting, the valuation will happen as per the standard for FG and WIP. Raw material is not at the standard price. You'll understand this in something called a single plan versus partial plan. That's a later on area. As of now, you can understand that 960 units of FG has to be valued at 33.60 irrespective of the cost we incur.
We should not value it as what is purchased, what price is purchased.
That is raw material. So raw material, leave it for the time being. Ignore the raw material for the time being. I'll explain the raw material part in single and partial plan later on. Minus 960 into cost of goods sold slash cost of sales Okay, you told me the profit per unit. Can you tell me what was the selling price planned? What is the selling price planned? 33.60 plus the profit of 8.4. 42 is the planned selling price. Now I don't have the actual selling price and all. So 42 into 40,000 is the sales done by the company. 42 into 40,000 is the amount of sales done by the company. So sales is 42 rupees into 40,000. And this is how you normally prepare an income statement, which gives you a profit of 299,216. This is how we normally prepare a cost sheet, and the profit is 299,216. 42 into 40,000. We also have something called as sales variances, which is not there in this question and it's not part of your syllabus. Why sales variance is not there is we wanted to sell 40,000, we have sold 40,000. I wanted to sell at 42 rupees, we have sold at 42 rupees. So there is no variance there. Otherwise this profit and all will not match if there is a sales variance. Your syllabus doesn't have sales variance, so I'm not taking it. You'll learn at final level. Anyway, the sales variances part you will learn at final level. 42 into 40,000, 16 lakh 80,000. Subtract 13, 80, 784. You are left with 299,216. Any doubts on this? Any doubts on 299,216? The same number we had got earlier. 299,216. Any doubts on this? Yeah.
Sir, we valued this closing stock at 33.6 and our what we got was around 34.5. Do we not do whichever is lesser of two?
No, the rule is very simple. It has to happen at the standard cost. Otherwise, what happens is, technically what is variance is, when you compute variance, you remove the abnormal cost incurred by the company or abnormal savings done by the company. When I write this SQ, SQ is computed with the help of what? Actual output. I don't do it with actual units sold. If I do this with actual units sold, then that closing FG need not be valued at 33.6. You can end up valuing it at 34.51. My always SQ is computed with actual output, which means whatever has been produced in all those units, you have removed the variance part. In all those units, so technically you have brought down the cost back to 33.6. If actual was also 20 rupees, I would value at 33.6. Even if it is 20 rupees, I'll value it at 33.6 because there are certain abnormal savings made by the company, or the standard itself could be wrong. If the standard is wrong, then you will have to change the standard and again calculate the variance. So then you will say, this is not 4.2, you will make it as 4.5, 3, 2, 1, whatever number you want to make, and then calculate the variances. So either change the standards, recalculate the variance, and then value the closing stock accordingly. Any doubts on this? Any doubts on this part? Okay, let's do the part 4. An incentive scheme is an operation wherein the company employees are paid a bonus of 50% of labor hours saved. How do you get hours saved? Standard time minus actual time. At standard direct labor hour rate, calculate the bonus. Now write bonus equal to 50% into ST minus AT, 50% into ST minus AT into SR per hour. They wanted to pay at standard direct labor hourly rate. 50% into ST minus AT into SR per hour. In short, it's Halsey method is what the company is following here. 50% into, what is the standard time? 122 880. Actual time? And SR is 32520 favorable. In short, it will become 50% of labor efficiency variance. You are paying 50% bonus. In short, it is 50% of labor efficiency variance. Labor efficiency variance basically measures how much saving we have done. So it's basically 50% of labor efficiency variance. %% of labor efficiency variance. Clear? Any doubts on this? Okay, last part, which is material purchase price variance. I'll explain the formula first. It's a simple formula. What is the formula for material price variance? Material price variance. SP into AQ minus AP into AQ. That's your formula for your material price variance. AQ refers to what? Actual quantity. Actual quantity consumed. Actual quantity consumed. Material purchase price variances SP into AQP minus AP into AQP. Actual quantity purchased. Material purchase price variances SP into AQ minus AP into AQ, but it is just that AQP, actual quantity purchase, AP into AQP, actual quantity purchase, which is 4.2. How many units we bought? 2 lakh minus 4.5 into 2,25,000. 4.2 into 2,25,000 minus 4.5 into 2,25,000. We normally take AQ as 205,600, which is actual quantity consumed. But material purchase price variance means SP into AQP minus AP into AQP. 4.2 into 225 minus 4.5 into 225. $4.2 into 2,25,000 minus 4.5 into 2,25,000. Can you proceed? Any doubts on this? Let's proceed to question 18. XYZ company has established the following standards for factory overheads. variable overheads per unit rupees 10, fixed overheads per month rupees 1 lakh, capacity of the plant 20,000, actual data, actual overheads incurred, actual output, calculate production volume variance and overhead expense variance. Okay, now coming to this question, they have given data on factory overheads, which is variable as well as fixed. They have given the data point on variable. Variable is 10 rupees per unit, fixed is 1 lakh. Actual data is given, actual overheads incurred is 3 lakh. Now, if the breakup of this 3 lakh is available, how much is variable, how much is fixed, then I can separately analyze variable overhead, I can separately analyze fixed overhead. Unfortunately, that breakup is not there in the question, and they've asked two things: production volume variance and overhead expense variance. Volume variance means fixed overhead volume variance, because volume variance is only there for fixed overheads. Overhead expense variance means variable overhead expense variance plus fixed overhead expense variance. So we'll have to try to find out together variable overhead expense variance plus fixed overhead expense variance. Production volume means only fixed overhead volume variance, but overhead expense variance means variable overhead expense variance plus fixed overhead expense variance. We try to somehow club the formula and do it together. Now write production volume variance equal to production volume variance equal to production volume variance equal to can you tell me what is the formula for FOH volume variance? FOH volume variance. SR into SH OR SR into AO minus SR into BH or BFOH. SR into SH or SR into AO, SR into BH or BFOH. Okay. Now, nothing related to R's is available in the question, so let's ignore that. Leave some 4 lines. SR per unit is equal to budgeted fixed overheads by budgeted units. SR per unit is equal to budgeted fixed overheads divided by budgeted units. What are the budgeted fixed overheads? 1 lakh. Budgeted units? 20,000. Capacity is considered to be the budget. 1 lakh by 20,000 is 5. So I will use this formula. I'll not use the R's wala part. We don't have data on that. 5 into what is the actual output? 5 into 15,000 minus BFOH is 25,000 adverse. 5 into 15,000 minus 1 lakh, 25,000 adverse. Any doubts on this? 5 into 15,000 minus 1 lakh, 25,000 adverse. Then the second variance which we had was overhead overhead expense variance. Listen for some time. FOH expense variance plus VOH expense variance. Listen for some time. FOH expense variance plus VOH expense variance. Can you tell me what is the formula for FOH expense variance? SR into BH, which is technically called BFOH minus AFOH. BFOH minus AFOH. VOH expense variance SR into AH, which is AVOH. SR into AH minus AVOH. That is as far as your expenses concerned. SR into AH minus AVOH. Okay, I'm going to club it together now. So when I club the formula together, it becomes BFOH plus SR into AH minus AFOH plus AVOH. AFOH plus AVOH. What is the budgeted fixed overhead? Plus SR into AH is otherwise called as SR into SO, which is your standard output. Because of lack of information, I will have to work with this 15,000 itself. The information is not adequate in the question, so I will have to work with this 15,000 itself. I'll then explain you a logic how expense variance can be computed separately. So lack of information, we will work with the 15,000 which has been produced by the company. What is the SR per unit you said? 5. 5 into 15,000 minus 5 or sorry 10. For variable overhead it is 10. 10 into 15,000, variable overhead is 10 into 15,000. AFOH plus AVOH is put together 3 lakh. That breakup was not there. That is why I had to do it this way, minus 3 lakh. I'll tell you a simple way of getting the answer again. So this is from a formula route, FOH expense plus VOH expense. Expense is BFOH minus AFOH. This is SR into AH minus AVOH. SR into AH plus BFOH is one side. This together is one side. This adds up to 3 lakh. BFOH is available in the question. SR into AH is otherwise called as SR into SO. We have taken the actual output to be the basis and done the question. Yeah.
But they've given that capacity is 20,000.
That is called as budgeted output. That's not standard output. That's budgeted output. There is a little bit of information missed in they have not given detailed information. So I'll tell you another way of getting the answer, which will be a little easy to understand. Here, this assumption may not be very clear to you. I'll tell you another way of getting the answer. Complete this and then I'll tell you the other way. That is what the short way was. I was just coming to it. Just give me a minute. What is the expense variance you get? 50,000. How much? 50,000 adverse. Okay. Any doubts on this? Now listen. The alternate answer is overhead expense variance is equal to standard expense minus actual expense. The standard expense is computed based on the actual output. What is the actual output? 15,000. So the standard expense is 15,000 into 10 rupees for variable overhead. Fixed overheads obviously doesn't change with the output, so that will continue to remain as 1 lakh minus the actual expense of 3 lakh. Standard expense is 15,000 into 10, which is your standard expense is always based on actual output. So 15,000 units into 10 rupees of variable overhead. Fixed overheads will continue to remain as 1 lakh because that doesn't change with the output. So plus 1 lakh minus 3 lakh, you get the same answer. 15,000 into 10. Standard expenses always computed with the help of actual. So 15,000 units into 10 rupees. Fixed overheads of 1 lakh rupee, that's your overall expense. See, the logic is if the company is going to produce 1 unit, the cost is going to be 1 lakh plus 1 into 10. If they are going to produce 10 units, the cost has to be 1 lakh plus 10 into 10 because fixed overheads is going to be 1 lakh rupee irrespective of the production. So 15,000 into 10 plus 1 lakh is what I should have incurred, but I have incurred little more. The difference is your overhead expense variance. 50,000 adverse. Any doubts on this? Clear? Okay, this question number 19 is something I'll do. Yeah. Yeah.
The second method that you said, standard is always taken in with respect to actual, so this I think this makes sense. But for the previous one, we took actual are similar to standard output, it's the same as that. And why can't, isn't it better to think that standard can be more closer to budgeted than standard closer to actual?
So the issue in this question is technically what has happened on the overhead side is when you do your OH expense variance for variable overheads, the formula is indirectly taking into consideration VOH expense as well as VOH efficiency. Both are indirectly taken here. See, there are 4 variances: VOH expense, VOH efficiency, FOH expense, FOH efficiency. All these 4 have to come in this 2 lot. FOH volume is coming separately. So you are left with FOH expense, VOH expense, VOH efficiency. Indirectly, VOH efficiency has to come in this formula. Indirectly, I can tell your overhead expense variance is equal to FOH expense variance plus variable overhead cost variance, not expense variance. Expense as well as efficiency should come in here. That is why it has come this way. That's why I said no, some lack of information is there. Technically, this is VOH cost variance. If it's VOH cost variance, you would have written SR into SH minus AVOH. SH is AO. So that is why that small difference which comes in. Clear? Now, this question is something we will do post me completing non-integrated accounts. I'll give the summary for the areas which we have done today. So go to the last few pages. Go to the last few pages. Question number 16. Question number 16, point number 1, variable overheads per unit equal to, variable overheads per unit equal to, variable overheads per unit equal to change in total cost by change in total cost by change in units. Change in total cost by change in units. Next point. Overhead per unit will be split into variable cost and fixed cost. Will be split into variable cost and fixed cost. Full stop. Using the same ratio, overhead per hour can be split into variable and fixed. Overhead per hour can be split into variable and fixed. Next point. Standard rate per unit is equal to standard rate per hour into number of hours per unit. Standard rate per hour into number of hours per unit. Into number of hours per unit. Full stop. This formula will help in identifying the standard equation. This formula will help in identifying the standard equation. Question number 17. Point number A. AQ for the purpose of material variance. AQ for the purpose of material variance. Will be actual quantity consumed. For the purpose of material variance will be actual quantity consumed. Next point. Factory overheads can be assumed. Either as fixed or variable. Next point. Income statement basically starts with budgeted profit. And we need to start with budgeted profit. And we need to add all favorable variances. And deduct all adverse variances. To get the actual profit. Next, bonus equal to 50% of time saved. 50% of time saved into SR per hour. 50% of time saved into SR per hour. MP, material purchase price variance equal to SP into AQP minus AP into AQP. SP into AQP minus AP into AQP. Question number 18. Production volume variance refers to FOH volume variance. Production volume variance refers to FOH volume variance. Next, overhead expense variance equal to standard overhead expenditure minus actual overhead expenditure. Standard overhead expenditure minus actual overhead expenditure. Question number 9. Point number A. This is a problem on multiple labor. Without idle time. Full stop. The question gives the expected idle time question gives the expected idle time in bracket normal and the actual idle time is missing in the question, full stop. Hence it is assumed that actual idle time is in line with expected idle time, and hence there is no abnormal idle time, Next point, standard equation for labor equal to 1400 kg of input minus 10% of normal loss, 1400 kg of input minus 10% of normal loss equal to 1800 labor hours. Next point, there is no adjustment done for idle time. As it is assumed that standard as well as actual include 5% idle time. Standard as well as actual include 5% idle time.